game. So that is an awesome stat. I mean, it tells you that you better force some turnovers and you better stop it, and that's why your whole offense needs to be built to get explosive plays.
How does Garrett's experience in that bowl game, the biggest game he could possibly play, translate into that leadership that you were talking about? He's been under fire in the biggest game this team can play. How do you think that will?
I think if he was fragile, it would have really hurt him. But he's very confident. He's a young man with a 4.0 that played for a dad with a very successful college and pro career. And he's so he gets it. And what he'll use that game to motivate himself and make himself better. I mean, he thought he turned the ball over instead of talking about being a freshman, putting that. A lot of people think how cool to be in that game, boy, and he was disappointed. I mean, he thought we had a chance to win, and he put it all back on him. So, and I've seen absolutely nothing since the game to make me feel like that he'll take a step back and lose confidence and all of that. On the second part of that, if he had not played in that game and had not played well in that game like he did to get us back in the ball game, I think the team probably wouldn't have known what they had going into spring. Now they know. This guy can be good. He's big, he's strong, he's confident. Biggest stage, we hope he gets back in that stage, but he'll never be in a bigger one, and especially with the lack of experience that he had.
Does Colt's injury make you reevaluate how much Garrett played last year versus? Does that make you go back and look at it at all?
It does. We constantly look at it, Rob, and it's a hard one. It goes a whole gamut. Number one, Colt wants to win a Heisman. You've got to keep your offense out there. We pull Vince out in most third quarters and played somebody else. And we were so far ahead, usually in most third quarters, we had to hand it off to keep it out of the 60s or 70s. So if you look at sportsmanship at all, we tried to put Garrett in last year when we could, and we ran the entire offense. I mean, that's what we tried to do. So we did a better job of that last year than we've ever done, and it probably gave us a chance when he came in the game because he knew what to do. Playing a second-team quarterback all the time, it's tougher with media and fans because they start choosing sides, and you've got to know who you are. You can stick one in some, but we felt like last year that it was Colt's year. It was his turn, and we didn't want to put Garrett in the third series because it might distract from who Colt was, and Colt admittedly tried too hard early in the season, so that would have made it worse. So we felt like that we probably did it last year like we should. And we'll continue to do that. The biggest question right now, Garrett would be the leader going into spring, and they'll be able to compete with him. The biggest question you got is does Sherrod step up and take the second one? And then you've got to have a third one out of the two freshmen. If one of the freshmen steps up above Sherrod and competes with Garrett, then you redshirt the other freshman. So there'll be a lot of question marks about our quarterbacks. And I really think that we have, and I don't want this to sound bad, but we have the best group of quarterbacks probably we've had on campus at one time because we've had trouble keeping one. You go back through our scenarios with Jevin, comes, leaves. GJ comes, leaves. They're both starters and doing a great job at other programs. Ryan Perilou cost us a guy. John Brantley cost us a guy. So we've been so fortunate that we got great quarterbacks. And I do think Greg's one of the better quarterback teachers in the country because now they're all playing in the NFL, and Colt will be. And we've been fortunate that they haven't been hurt. But I told the staff after the game, and I feel like this is true, and I've always thought this, and we've gotten by with this the last couple of years. You should never have the game at Texas dependent on the performance of one player or the health of one player. Because that happened to us at Kansas State a few years ago. I thought it carried over to the A&M game when Colt hurt his shoulder, and it happened to us the other night. So that's why we've got to get back and be able to win with another quarterback in the game, or if the quarterback that's in there is not playing as well as we'd like to see, by doing some other things with our offense.
Mack, how much uncertainty is there at wide receiver right now? It just seems like some of your top guys from last year, Marquise, he's not going to be there. Jordan's gone. And there's been some inconsistency with some of the returns.
Yeah, it's a good question, Alan. I like the fact when guys aren't in spring that are proven. And I think Marquise is proven. On the biggest stage, he didn't blink. I mean, he thought he was playing a high school championship game out there in Pasadena. Had a smile on his face, bouncing around. He caught that screen. I thought he looked real fast. I'm not worried about him. He'll be in shape. He's smart. He will come back ready to play in the fall. And we know what he can do. By him not being there, it lets Deshaun Hales and Brock Fitzhenry and this group of guys who have been waiting their turn. John Childs got so much better last year, but it's time for John to be the receiver now. He's not a quarterback moved to receiver anymore. He's a receiver. Malcolm wishes he had a couple of balls back in the national championship game. James was a little more inconsistent. He made some great plays for us last year, but he was disappointed in a couple of his games. So I do think there's you start looking at Greg Timmons. What can he do? We wouldn't know that if all those guys were out there all the time. So Jordan Shipley missing spring last year obviously didn't hurt him. We don't even remember he missed it. But it forced us into looking at some guys that we might not look at if some of the others were there. So I think that's a good thing.
If Sherrod steps up, could you redshirt both freshman quarterbacks?
We could. You would have to. We carry all quarterbacks. That's been our rule since we've been here. But you would have to have them separate enough that if Sherrod or Garrett could not play for some reason, you'd have to have one ready to play enough to get you through. We're really fortunate that both of them are here this spring.
Mack was first-year starter quarterback. How important is it to get that running game even more so than maybe with Colt? Because Colt was better. Have that luxury of the running game.
We're playing better defense, so that gives us an ability to be more patient. You know, it's hard to criticize your offense when you're scoring 42 points plus a game. And we've scored between 39 and 50 since we've been here. So those things are good. We don't want to go back and score 24 by being stubborn. I mean, oh boy, we're running better. Now we lost 8 games, but are we proud of our running game? It's gotten better. But what we do feel like we need to do, we went, I think instead of taking a tablet, we took the bottle. With our running game. With Colt, we just went to spread, passing, offense, and then we just quit running it. The Colorado game, I was furious that we walked out of there against a defense who had not played great and couldn't make a 3rd and 2. So that's what we got to get back to. We've got to get back to having more balance. We've got to get back to, and what we did was great. We're a healthy quarterback away from probably winning a national championship. So how would we question what our offensive coaches did? I mean, they did what they needed to do to win all the games, because Colt is a very special player, and he's so accurate, and he's so smart, and he still uses his feet. So he became a lot of our running game. But to think that you can do that every year, so now we've got to figure out if Garrett's a guy or one of these young guys steps up, what do they do best, and try to build it around them. And we've got to get more confidence back in our running game. One of the things that I look at is the history of this school. This school was built on running the ball, playing man-to-man defense, and stoning everybody and having a great kicking game. So it gets tough for our fans sometimes, and I understand it when we throw it and don't run it, because that's not what they were raised with. They were raised with throwing it. One of the tougher things for us, because of the Mike Leach, the Vince Young, all the spread offenses, now all the high schools are in spread. So it's harder to find the big back. It's harder to find a tight end. It's harder to find a fullback. So it's not just that we've changed. It's that the world out there is changing. When you see the Miami Dolphins running the Wildcat, things are changing, and people are looking at different things. So what we've got to do is go back and still score the same number of points we're scoring, but I would like to see us be more physical and take more control of the game, not force the quarterback to make great throws and have perfect protection the whole game, and play some field position. And if the defense can continue to knock balls loose and intercept balls like they did this year, then it helps put your offense in shorter fields.
Coach, do you feel good about your team's ability to turn the page from the bowl game, and when do you feel like they did that?
I think they'll probably do it